Hello and welcome back to TNWKS, the Now We Know show, the show where we discuss a topic of interest and by the end we will have learnt something new and hopefully you will too. I'm Zach.
I'm Jack.
And I'm Buzz.
And today we're going to be talking about a subject that is quite close to all of our hearts.
Ooh,
And that is physical media versus streaming.
nice. If you enjoy the Now We Know Show podcast, support Zak Wylde Productions on Patreon or join our members on YouTube for early access, ad-free content and exclusive episodes. Okay, so we're talking physical media versus streaming. What do we mean by physical media?
Well, this could apply to several things. It could apply to games. We've seen a lot of physical media now with moving over to digital games. It could apply to music. Obviously, back in the day we had physical music. Now we have a lot more streaming services that provide our music. But today we're going to focus more on film, the film aspect of physical media versus streaming. Now, there isn't going to be any winners. We're not going to decide which one's better. We're just going to have an open discussion about physical media versus streaming.
I'm sure everybody's got their own personal take on it.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. And I think we're pretty much all on the side of physical media. But I would like to kind of discuss the pros and cons of both, if
Yes.
possible.
Oh, certainly.
Very
Yeah.
much
Give each side of the story
Yes.
a fair crack of the whip, as they say.
Yes.
Film
So
restaurants.
some pros and cons for both. Obviously, we are more sort of
Well,
in
that's fine.
favour of physical media.
We can
but
discuss why we're in more favour. I'm not trying to convince anybody out there, but
yes, I'd also like to maybe later on in the episode talk about where we think physical media will go in the future, maybe in 10, 20 years time. So yeah, that's the subject of today's episode.
okay. Because there has been a lot of physical media that has also sort of died to death over the period of time.
Yes.
Because I remember things like laser discs,
Laser
mini
discs.
discs.
Well, you
Basically
say
like a
that,
giant DVD.
VHS, that was physical media.
Yeah.
Yes,
went.
yeah, VHS.
Do you know what the last ever film released on VHS was?
Is that an actual factual thing? The last ever?
Yeah.
Somebody actually bothered to note that down.
Yeah, it was the last official release of a film.
Oh.
I mean, I've never heard of the film, so it might take you
Oh,
on.
Okay, so
Okay.
I'm not even going to take a
I
stab in
mean,
the dark.
go for it.
It's a film called History of Violence, starring Viggo Mortensen.
Oh,
Okay, I think I have heard of the movie, but
So yeah,
Never-
so
never
that's
seen it.
officially.
that's the last film that was released on VHS, sort of
Okay.
officially, I guess. There's probably
what
been
a landmark thing right there.
Because they have these little bumps in the road where they bring out sort of new physical media. Like you had a PSP, didn't you, Sony PSP?
Yeah.
And you got this whole bank of films that you could get,
Yeah.
little disc films.
Yeah, I think they were called a
UMP or
So
something.
you could watch,
disc.
Yeah.
you could watch a movie on the go. And of course, they lasted for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So I've always been in favour of physical media for several reasons. However, I think general moviegoers probably want convenience. So I think streaming nowadays is probably more of the convenient option. If you can just log into your streaming service, whether it be Netflix, Amazon Prime,
Yeah.
whatever, watch the latest film. If you need to rent it, then you can rent it. But that's it. It doesn't take up any space. You've seen the film, and you move on. You can enjoy the rest of your evening.
Yeah, but what if you want to go back to it and
Well,
enjoy it again?
It's kind of one of that's. See, yeah, I have the split decision over that and going to the movies, for example, because in a similar way, you'd go to the movies, you want to go there to the cinema, and you're not seeing physical media, are you? You're sitting there and you're watching something that is streamed, if you like, on the screen.
Yeah.
And then you go home. So
Yeah.
to a certain extent,
Home video is probably the more.
going to a cinema is the cinema experience, and we're talking about having the home cinema experience because most time,
DVDs, Blu-rays, 4Ks.
most of the
stuff
time
like
when
that.
people stream, obviously these days most people stream on big flat screen,
Yeah.
super 4K TVs if you got them and all sorts. So they surround the sound and everything. So some people are getting almost like a home cinema experience, and that kind of in one way detracts from my enjoyment of going to the cinema. Because when you're at the cinema, you've got all these other strangers around you. They're always selling the snacks that are the most noisiest snacks. I mean, who came up with the idea of sweets in plastic wrapping and nachos?
Nachos.
And then people get up and go off. Come back again.
It's the old thing.
But I'm making it sound like it sounds awful, but I really enjoy the cinema experience. Because it's just not like being at home, you know?
Yeah.
There is a certain thing, if it's a big movie, I want to go and see it there on the big screen and take that cinema experience in. And that was the same when they used to have things like Blockbuster, which was where you go and rent out physical media.
Oh,
and you could, so it became a kind of a ritual, something that you did at the weekend, or maybe you might even do it midweek, but you would say, what film should we watch tonight? And that entailed getting off your backside, driving, if you're that far away from a Blockbuster, driving to a Blockbuster, and then you went into this kind of, it's like Willy Wonka's sweet shop of films.
Yeah.
And you would browse all these films that you just wouldn't see.
You'd have your little Blockbuster card.
Yes, your Blockbuster, and you would go around and you'd see all these, and you had the international or the world films from around the world.
And you got the bargain buckets and everything.
Yeah, action and all these things, and you'd look, and because of course you have the physical covers.
Yeah.
So you get some of the amazing artwork, which never ever really it promised so much and they never delivered. And so you'd choose a movie, but you'd see obscure movies there to rent that you'd never otherwise see.
Yeah.
And so you go and rent that out. You might get yourself some popcorn while you're there at the desk, go home, and you'd have this then home cinema experience with this thing that you've gone out and physically chosen. And I kind of miss that part.
Because that is
with streaming.
I think that is like you say, you've picked that film, you've looked at the cover, you've read the description, you've gone, that's the one I want to watch tonight or at the weekend. That's the only choice you have. You watch it and you enjoy it or you don't enjoy it. Whereas now with streaming, you can be halfway through a film and think, I don't like this, let's move on to the next film. Click, and then you're on to the next film.
It's that kind of almost sloppy though, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm.
It's like
lazy attitude.
Isn't it?
Lazy attitude to the. People have gone to the extent of obviously making these movies. We know we all have an insight into that, and the effort that is put into producing a movie, even a micro budget or what people call a low budget movie, is still loads of work goes into it, and the actors act their little hearts out to do the stuff. And then to think that people go, this is crap, I'm not going to do this.
Like 5 minutes in.
5 minutes
done.
in.
Well, I think you notice that as well a lot with like TV now as well. TV shows are kind of made to binge.
Yeah, but couldn't that be a downside to streaming?
Yeah, well, I always notice at the end of a Netflix show, it's almost like as the credits are rolling, it's like you've got that little timer at the bottom right where it says next episode, and then you go on to the next episode. And it does it for films as well, where the credits are rolling on the film and it will give you like suggestions on what the next film is.
That kind of is annoying if you're watching something like a Marvel movie where you know there's mid and after credits. You suddenly have to rush to your remote control to try and stop it. So
from automatically doing
that.
Or even because it wants you to watch something else.
Even if you're a bit of a nerd like me, like the music as well. If it's like a film like Lord of the Rings or something where the music's like its own entity, like you want to listen to the credits because
you see the credits and then you can get all the titles of the different tracks of it.
Yeah, and there's like what you would enjoy most or whatever. It's like all your suggested.
Because that's another kind of thing. That's a byproduct of watching a movie. You go and see a good movie, and a lot of the time, I'll go, I really enjoy it, like with Guardians of the Galaxy, for example.
Volume 3.
You got, I was going to say, it's, what's it called? What's it mix?
Awesome Mix.
Awesome Mix 1, 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And so if you watch the movie, you'll have the music in it. So I go and buy the physical CD because I don't download it. I want the physical CD because I think for me it kind of goes back to I'm from a time where I had obviously a proper, but it was a record player.
Yeah.
Hi-fi, and of course you went out and you bought your pressed albums, long playing records and your EPs because we were talking about EPs.
Yeah, that's true.
That was a term you hadn't come across,
Yeah.
And your singles,
LPs and EPs.
And of course with that. You used to go and buy the music because you loved the music, but you also wanted the album covers because you had the artwork and everything, which kind of like reduced when they brought out CDs. And I remember I'll admit I was one of the first people that was straight away thinking, I'll adopt this new technology. And you got the CD and you had this little thin paper slip in there. It's kind of a bit less impressive than having an album cover. So when you go and download. So for example, if I have downloaded music off of Amazon and things before, and there are other places you can buy music from, and they kind of give you this complimentary with the the MP3 tracks, little photographs,
Yeah,
little pictures,
and that's the
JPEGs
same with streaming, isn't it? They give you a poster of the film
Yeah,
or
you
whatever it is you're going to
and it's
watch.
just
I mean, you
not
say
the
they
same.
give you it. It's not.
It's just
They're not
there.
giving you
No,
anything.
they're not giving you-
They're
yeah.
just showing you what the film is.
True.
You're kind of like, So, yeah, I miss the whole physical blockbuster thing, but then I can see how people, because like we were just saying, and we'll come back to the binge watching bit, people are possibly, are they a little bit more lazy these days when it comes to that thing? They don't want the effort of
Having to
go out.
Yeah.
But that was kind of the part of the experience, you know. It was almost like going to the pub. Why bother going to the pub when you can sit at home and buy some cheaper alcohol and stick it in your fridge and have
the-
Well,
Yeah.
you know,
well, that was the
but
thing.
it's-
We wouldn't just go to Blockbuster. We'd go out, get dinner, go to Blockbuster, come back, enjoy the
Same with
movie,
the-
eat dinner.
It's same with cinema though, isn't it? You go out,
Yeah.
you have a meal, you go to the cinema. It's a
Yeah.
night out, isn't it?
And although there are downsides to that experience, as I've already mentioned, with the crackling food, or you get somebody who's jabbering and somebody who's forgotten to put their phone off and this and that and other, but it's the cinema experience, and most of that kind of washes over you, doesn't it? When you
Yeah.
go to the cinema, or you're really lucky because you've decided to go on a time when there's not that many people in the cinema.
That's usually towards something's
Yeah.
end of
End of their
theatrical
run.
run. Yeah.
So would you say the general moviegoer now, just the general member of public, doesn't
Yeah.
have like a major interest in film, just enjoys a film now and again?
I think
Do
they
you
would.
think they would go to the effort of going out to buy a DVD of the latest film,
No,
or do you think they'll wait for it to come on their streaming
they'll
service?
get a streaming
Streaming.
service.
Yeah.
And one of the other sides of that is because, as has become very evident from talking to friends and colleagues, and most of them don't have the physical ability to play a disc.
yeah.
Well, I mean, even
Have you got a Blu-ray player? Oh, I haven't got one of them.
I mean, this is more of the gaming side,
Yep.
which I know we've maybe talked about doing some kind
Well,
of episode on games or something at some
I
point.
take it the latest consoles still play discs.
Well, here's the thing with the
Yeah,
PS5.
this is it, yeah.
We have the PS5 with the disc player,
Okay.
but then you have a PS5 digital which doesn't have a disc player, and it's just the PS5 that you plug in, and you can only buy the games off the PS Store.
Oh, right. So do you think that?
I don't think it's very long till discs aren't.
So they'll just like floppy disks were the original discs in computers, and then it went to CD-ROM.
Well, it's like with CD players in cars. You don't get CD players in modern cars anymore.
Yeah,
Because
see,
it's all,
that's old-fashioned. I miss having a CD player.
Yeah.
I like to pop a CD in. Although I do appreciate that with a lot of them these days, I mean, I think we've got two vehicles that have got USB slots in, so you can
Yeah.
load up a USB stick and,
Yeah, it's kind of that midway where you have both options.
yeah, I think mine's like kind of Bluetooth. I've got like a Bluetooth adapter thing.
But I
so-
still like getting if you look in the side pocket of the car, I've got loads of CDs in there, and it's like sometimes I just want to pick one out and go, yeah, I haven't listened to that for ages, slap it in the player.
Yeah. So what are the pros? We've discussed that obviously the general moviegoer would rather go and watch a film at home on their streaming service as opposed to go to Tesco or whatever
Because it's easy, it's
and
convenient.
buy that DVD.
Yep.
What are the pros of going to buy that DVD or Blu-ray or 4K?
Well, I would say immediately, if I just jump in there, Zach,
Go on.
I'd say immediately, if it's a movie that you want to see, I mean, it might be a movie you've already been to the cinema to see, because I think stage one, when a film comes out, people will make that choice. There's only two choices when a film comes out. People will either say, I don't want to miss that, I'm going to go to the cinema, or they'll say, I'll wait for it to come out.
I'll wait for that to come out.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So that's the sort of two areas you got. So if it's a movie that you've already been to the cinema to see and you like it that much, buying it in physical media means that you have it to watch as many times as you want for the one price. Yeah? And most of the time in physical media these days is you have lots of extras on there, extra features behind the scenes, featurettes, even in the actual slipcovers themselves, reversible.
Yeah, that's all the
artwork,
kind of added
little,
collectible things, isn't it?
Art cards,
Yeah,
stuff like that.
posters.
Posters, yeah, even fold-out posters. So you kind of like the physical media. If it's something you really like, then you get all that extra. Whereas with streaming, if I want to go and watch a movie that I decide to pay for, unless I'm wrong, and you can tell me, because I will admit to not being somebody who's, I think I've only watched paid for about 2 movies. But once you've watched it, you don't get to watch it again, do you?
Yeah, 2 things. I will say on Disney Plus now, I think they do have an extra section. So any film that you watch does have an extras tab,
Right.
which you can go onto, and all the extra features are on there, behind the scenes, commentaries, that sort of thing. So I think that's something that's transitioning now over to streaming.
So so you'd access that, but if they decide to take that movie off
Yeah, well,
their streaming service
my
later
other-
on.
other
You lose that.
point was when you rent something, unless it's actually included within the streaming service, if you rent something, I think you get it for like 48 hours, and then you'd have to re-rent it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So
Yeah.
that would annoy me.
Whereas anything included, like a Disney thing on Disney Plus, would probably, I'd imagine, would stay there.
Well, that
majority.
was the thing with, I think it was on Amazon Prime that we kind of rented these movies from. It was the fact that you'd rent it and it would only play through once. So if you could pause it,
I
but
think
you
that's
couldn't.
changed now.
You couldn't go back
Yeah.
or forward.
I think that was the early days where they were trying to figure out sort of online streaming. But I think now, once you start playing the film, you get 48 hours or something to
Okay.
Yeah, but
watch it.
again, the pros and cons.
That's only if you're renting. That's not if something's
if you-
included on Netflix or something.
Yeah, but surely if you're renting something, it's funny, isn't it? Renting, and it costs you 14, 15 quid to rent it.
$1.99 most of the time now. I watch
What,
Scream.
really?
I watch Scream 6, $1.99.
I thought the kind of like the latest blockbusters they bring out.
I mean, if something's out, like if it's just this, like come out within like the week or so, it'll probably be like something like £15 or something.
Yeah.
But within a couple of weeks, it always drops.
Okay,
down.
I'm gonna
I should probably preface.
pick your brains on this.
I'll
then.
preface, right? I'm more on the side of physical media, but to make a good
no,
episode,
no,
I'm going to try and argue for
I-
streaming.
But
I'm trying to be balanced on my opinions.
This is
here.
the Now We Know show, and I need to learn
Yeah.
stuff. So you're more adept at streaming than I am.
Okay,
So
yeah.
I want to learn, and maybe you can answer questions. So if I want a movie, or I say, right, okay, there's this new
I think I know what you're going to
Guardians of
say
the
now.
Galaxy 3. Okay,
Yeah.
that's something that becomes available on streaming.
It will be soon on Disney
Okay,
Plus.
and I want to watch that. Okay, I want
Yeah.
to watch it, but I also want to say 6 months down the line, I want to watch it again. Can I still watch it, or do I have to rent it again?
Well, again, I think it depends on the film.
If it's included, okay, so this is something that's kind of in the news at the moment.
Yeah.
It's quite a relevant thing. So a lot of Disney Plus stuff is on there all the time because it's owned by Disney. So that's their catalogue, if you like. Like that's all of their films that you want to watch.
Yeah.
They have obviously Fox and Star Wars, Marvel, these sort of things
Yeah.
that all branch off. Like, for example, Guardians of the Galaxy would be in the Marvel section. I'm not sure what's going on behind the scenes, but there's something to do with Disney Plus at the moment where they're actually removing a lot of Disney Plus original stuff.
I've heard that.
So One and Only Ivan, which
Yes,
I know you
I've
worked
been
on,
trying to find that, and I can't find it.
it's gone.
It's gone. Yeah,
It's
'cause I
and it
worked-
doesn't exist on.
I
on
worked on that movie, and I was just about a week ago, wasn't
Yeah.
it? And I said to you, "Oh, I really need to get ready." I know Jack had watched it,
yeah, I liked it.
and I wanted to go and watch it, and we couldn't find it anywhere.
It's
No.
gone.
And the movie's
And
gone.
again,
And
the
it's not on
same
physical
with a
media.
TV
No.
series called The Nevers. That was only on streaming. I can't remember which platform it was, but that is completely gone.
Yeah. So Disney Plus have had like this big purge of all of stuff that doesn't seem to be doing very well. Or I don't know what the technicalities are. I'm not.
But imagine
Anyway,
that work and all
I've got
that.
nothing to do with Disney.
All
This
that
is just what
work
I've read.
has
but-
gone into all that
Yeah.
stuff, and it's
But
just gone.
That's gone.
Doesn't this bring into the situation though? If you are a person whom all you're doing is paying for a streaming service,
Let's say $7.99 a month.
okay, so you're paying for a streaming service, but I'm sorry, I'm going to have to keep using my Blockbuster analogy. When I'd go into Blockbuster, it had all this stuff there. Some really obscure things used to be on those shelves. But when I go onto streaming and I try and search for stuff, if I don't know the name of it, it never throws it up in front of my face to watch it.
It's all the new stuff. I see what you mean. 'Cause it's all sort of.
It tells you immediately what it wants you to watch.
Wants you to watch, and of course through the analytics, they see what you have been watching and then suggest more of the sort of those things
Similar
which they
things,
think that you're going to like this, which I can understand. But there might be movies out there that I would love to watch, but I don't know exist.
Yeah.
When I used to go in what I'm trying to say is when I went into Blockbuster, I
You
would
had
see
that
all these
that
things.
range of
I could
things.
physically see all these things and go, do you know, I've never heard of that movie.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick it up, I'm going to look at the synopsis, look at the artwork, make a decision.
Hmm.
But I'm not, when it comes to streaming, if I don't know to look for that movie, how do I even know it's even there? And
Well, I
then
suppose
when we have tried to find more obscure movies that we do know of, and it's like, do you know what? You'd say to me, Dad, what? So Zach would say to me, Dad, could you sort of tell me any movies you used to watch back in the 70s or 80s that I'd like to watch? And I'll give you a name of a movie.
Yeah.
And then you can't find it on streaming because it's not there.
Yeah.
You see, so then you've only got one option: track it down on physical media. And thankfully, there are now companies like Arrow
Video.
Well,
88
before we
film.
move on,
But I'm just touching upon that briefly.
Yeah.
But there are physical media companies that are actually making all those things that are obscure available.
Yeah.
So hence my sudden interest
In-
in physical media more.
In streaming's favour, there are sort of like genre things. You can go to like the horror section or the action section. It will give you all the posters and things to select, similar to like how you would in Blockbuster.
Okay.
But I see what you mean by if there is something more obscure that you're looking for.
Or that I don't know exists, but
And
I'd
you only
like to be
have,
able to browse.
if you only have one streaming service like Netflix, as opposed to
That's
all
it.
of them.
That is literally what I was about to say. The availability. Because something may be available on one platform, but not available on another.
Well,
So you're limited by the amount of platforms you have
what
as
you
to
can
the
afford.
range
Yeah, what you
of
choose
things you have
afford.
to watch.
yeah. Well, nowadays you've got this, like, so Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, Paramount Plus, Hulu, which is the American thing,
Yeah.
Peacock,
HBO Max. is
HBO
it?
Max, I said Paramount Plus, didn't I?
Now TV.
Now TV, Sky Cinema.
It's
Yeah.
it's
I mean,
that's
so
9.
many things.
See,
They're probably all about a tenner each.
I always said I was
You're suddenly paying that much more,
back in the day.
and there's only so much you can watch.
Back in the day, we used to have Sky Satellite when we had the dish and everything.
Yeah.
When it was analog, even we had. And then after that went out, we didn't go on to. Once they got rid of the satellites, we just said, well, we're going to drop it because it was an expense every month, and we didn't feel we were watching Sky enough. So we kind of never really felt like we wanted to pay for a streaming service. And then Amazon came along with Amazon Prime, which was obviously initially when you buy stuff and you're a Prime member, it means a lot of the things you buy you don't get postage on. So it was the purchasing online why we went for Amazon Prime, and then this Prime streaming service, it was like a bonus add-on.
Yeah.
So I kind of like didn't feel like I was actually paying for a streaming service. I was paying, I think it was about 79, 80 quid or whatever it's gone up to now. But it was like that was for a year's worth of free postage.
Would you say that that's the happy medium when you like order a physical media from one of these distributors and then they send it to you? So that's kind of like old school love film type.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Well, yeah, we'll mention that in a second.
I mean,
but I was just going to say with the streaming, it was like I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. So even with Amazon, that was because it was a byproduct of what I was actually buying Amazon for.
True.
But then you brought out the new. I think it was the new Predator movie, wasn't it?
Prey.
And we couldn't see that on anything other.
That is the most expensive film.
That was Disney, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So because the only way we could see that movie was to do it, so I did a year's subscription on Disney simply so I could see that
simply to watch Prey. It's quite the
with
commitment.
With the hope that over that year I would use it more.
You gave in to the mouse.
and then I can't remember what it was, but I know that there was something else we wanted to watch, and we could only watch it on Netflix.
Oh.
And so we ended up subscribing to Netflix.
They got you.
Yeah.
Capitalism.
But the only reason we went on to the Netflix one was because they had an option where you like some of them. I see again. I don't know what the subscription setups are, but it was like I think it was because you could pull out of it any time you wanted to. You weren't like fixed for a year.
Yeah, Now TV's good for that. I would say Now TV because you buy like a pass which renews every month and you can just cancel it any time, which I quite like.
I think that's what we do with Netflix. But it's like, how have I ended up now with 3 streaming services?
Yeah, it's true.
Well, that's how they get you.
But how do people keep up with this?
So
how do people keep up with it? The expense of it, because you can have a £17 or £18 card to go to the cinema and watch as many movies as you like for a month. It's £17 a month. So we're in a cost of living crisis. Is it that a normal family or would say, well, we've got to have our Wi-Fi?
Is it considered
we've got
like
to have a streaming service?
a standard of like a necessary standard of living?
That's it. Like it's a part of your standard.
It's one of your bills. Yeah.
You've got to have it, else you're stuffed.
Otherwise, you're subhuman living.
Yes.
So we touched on like companies such as Criterion, Arrow, 101 Films, that sort of thing, 88 Films, whatever it's called.
There's both.
Do you think that physical media, because this is how I think physical media is at the moment, do you think physical media has become more of like a collector's market, and we're seeing less releases, but they're more deluxe releases?
I think you got to look at it from kind of the same angle as what went with vinyl LPs.
Yeah.
Vinyl died.
Yeah.
The only time you'd go into any old second-hand shop that people would sort of be the older collectible people who wanted to get it on vinyl.
Yeah.
But then it had a resurgence, didn't it? Now people are buying brand new vinyls.
Well,
companies are printing it.
A lot of people are saying that the original vinyls are a lot better quality because these new vinyls that they're releasing are just digital copies that have been printed onto a vinyl.
Okay, fair enough.
But that's the music side.
Well,
We're talking about the film side.
I would certainly say, and especially because of the way I started off talking about this program with all the extras you get in a physical thing, I think, yes, it's kind of the collector's market because, again, let's not forget, we've got 3 guys in the studio here that are passionate about film.
Yeah.
We work in the film industry. We see both in front of the camera, behind the camera.
We can appreciate the process of making a film.
The whole process of making films. And then we love the end product.
Yeah.
But there's probably a lot of people out there just take a step back for a moment. That don't give a monkey's.
Straight over the head
because they're not interested. They want the convenience of literally just picking up the remote.
They want to kill 2 hours in their evening, and that's it.
And streaming therefore is perfect. And as you said, with the binge watching series, I remember having a chat with the post. I think it might have been the first series because they're just doing 2, which I'm calling it by its code name, but we're talking House of the Dragon.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
Yeah, but House of the Dragon's House of the Dragon. I mean, it's been out, job done. Series 1 is out, and I'm
in that.
Yeah,
so we're all in that.
It doesn't really matter because Series 2's probably been put in the can by now. Anyway, it's probably already in post production. But the point I'm going to say is that
I don't know if we're allowed to say code names. That's all I'm going to say.
All right, well,
just for my job.
You didn't say it. I said it. Okay, and I didn't work on the second one, so there you go. But my point was, is I know there were online quite a few little sort of conversations going on about from the perspective of those who couldn't wait to see it. And I was quite amazed because people were saying, "I refuse." I think it might not have been. It was a series that everybody was waiting for, but they were only. Sorry, House of the Dragon.
I just want to protect my own name.
Guys listening, I'm so used to calling productions by their strange code names.
We might have to re-record that.
When they released that,
put
me right on this. They released it 1 episode per week.
Yeah.
They didn't actually release it as a binge
It's a Sky
watch.
Atlantic thing, isn't it?
Right. That's where I was going with this because on the conversations on social media, people were getting angry, physically typing, "I'm really angry. I refuse to watch this until it's
you can watch it all.
I can watch it all in a binge."
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, kind of like, why?
Yeah.
Except, is there a kind of fundamental change, Jack, in the way that people view these things? Because we're coming from a time when, if you watch something on the terrestrial television,
Doctor Who, for instance,
you could watch 1 episode, leave it on a cliffhanger, and you had to wait a week before you found out what happened next.
Yeah.
Not straight away binge watch. And that wasn't a frustration. It was kind of like an excitement. It's like, where have they left it hanging? Oh no! It's like the old Batman where the Batmobile will be flying off a cliff, and then you watch the next week, and it's stopped just on top of the cliff.
That's how an episode of TV is written.
It's like people have changed.
That's how an episode of TV is written, to have that finale at the end, that cliffhanger to get people to come back and watch more. Whereas I think now it must be, with the binge culture, if that's a thing, I don't know. We
just invented it.
There
must be a thing now where people are saying, okay, we need to get to the end of this episode, and they need to be engaged enough to wait 5 seconds for the next episode.
Yeah.
There must be nowadays that must be a conversation that happens with writers nowadays.
It's something that I've found with a lot of these 10-part series that
they could be a film.
They could be a film. Literally, something happened in the first episode that kind of sets events in motion, and a lot of those middle episodes will just be filler to what happens in the last one. And I'm like, I've just now wasted. I don't want to say wasted, but I've endured however many hours worth of non-ish stuff just to find out what happened.
I think this is more of a conversation of where film and TV is at, as opposed to where physical media and streaming is at.
Okay, but it's the binge culture, as you call it.
Yeah, and that's come from streaming. We should say,
because it never existed before. Yeah, before it wouldn't have even been a conversation point because people wouldn't have even said, because you just wait for the next week. No hassles. 1 week. It gave you a week to discuss what you thought the next episode, which direction it was going in.
I find it funny as well, on a side note, when the streaming services use the term box set as a thing, that there's watch this new box set.
Because that's a physical
and
term.
That term has come from a DVD box set, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because back in the day, you'd buy, I don't know, a box set of Friends or whatever, and then watch
EastEnders.
Yeah,
No,
that'd be a big old.
I've never bought a box set of EastEnders.
That'd be a big old box set.
Yeah.
I have actually seen those available for sale.
What, EastEnders?
It was in a CEX, I think it was in Cambridge.
Right.
Literally this massive shelf,
A bank full of EastEnders.
bank full of EastEnders, and damn, that was a long shelf.
So one of the big things that I love at the moment, one of my sort of collecting things, is Arrow Video.
Oh yes.
So what do you think? Why do you think these companies have sprung up?
So I think Arrow Video,
And what is giving them the financial support to be able for them to support themselves? Yeah, what is it?
So Arrow Video, I believe they're British, aren't they? They're based quite close to here, and basically they restore a lot of older films. They have
very obscure
So
films.
they kind of have
sometimes,
newer
yeah.
releases sometimes as well.
So what do they get the rights for an old movie?
So yeah, I'm not sure how the physical media world works in terms of rights, but they have quite a big catalogue of older films from like 60s stuff all the way back to like 50s.
I would assume that somebody owns the rights to that movie.
Yeah.
They must approach that company or whomever owns the rights and say, we'd like to do a restoration on it.
Yeah, so
And pay them some kind of
Most of
fee.
the time, they get the original film elements and do a restoration on that.
yeah, so they kind of restore old 70s, 80s, a lot of horror stuff, sci-fi
Yeah.
stuff. But I think like as you say, their customers are people like ourselves who are wanting to rediscover older films that perhaps we wouldn't have seen.
Well, for me,
So a lot
it's-
of like video nasties and things come back through Arrow Video.
So for me, because of the age, I want to revisit something that I have seen, but I haven't seen in years. And you guys want to discover what you haven't seen.
Yeah. So this is where we reach a crossroads in this episode, because as much as I love Arrow and what they do, they, as the things we mentioned, they have posters, art cards, alternate cuts of films, amazing restorations. Arrow recently announced Arrow Player,
Right.
which is a Arrow video streaming service.
Okay.
So do we think that Arrow will now do the same
Start
thing?
releasing their products on a streaming service.
And as you said earlier, when you were saying we can't find obscure films, now you can on Arrow Player.
Yeah, but do you think that that will have the knock-on effect that perhaps if they were finding that people were buying into that Arrow player and streaming the movies, that they would turn around and say, well, look, we're making easier and better money off of that rather than producing all this physical media and wind that side down, which would be
It's
crying
a scary,
shame.
it's a scary
That's where
prospect.
I think it'll go. That's where I think it'll go.
So I mean, if you discontinue like something, like if you do not subscribe to it anymore, everything you have bought, you're then not going to be able to watch.
I think we can. So we've reached a natural part of the episode which I wanted to talk about, which is where the future is going with physical media and streaming. This is my personal prediction. I think it will be 99% of films and TV shows will go to streaming. And that'll be
I
it.
think that's inevitable.
And I think 1% of those films will be like mega deluxe editions where you can buy this like limited edition steelbook box set, whatever it is,
Steelbooks, yeah.
Well,
of one film, and you go, this is The Godfather from back in the day.
But again, it's going to be surely because talking about the general public, we are probably becoming the exceptions, aren't we?
Yeah,
Because less and less people are going to be bothering to buy physical media. Less and less people, as kids grow up, they don't even have a player in the house.
Yeah,
Why
so they
should
don't
bother?
know. They don't know what they are missing because, like, streaming was new to us, whereas the later generations
I mean, I know
were. It was literally
I know we've
they just grew up with it.
briefly touched upon the metaverse in other episodes, but if you think of the future generations, they're going to literally stick their headsets on and go straight into the metaverse.
Yeah,
and watch the films in
They're
3D.
going to go into they're going to see all
probably
that stuff.
star in their own
metaverse.
movie.
They're
Well,
gonna-
it's like Ready Player One, where they go to the theatre and
Yeah, that's
they're
what
in
they'll-
The Shining.
But that's what they will be doing.
Yeah.
That's what they will be doing. But I do have one other annoying aspect to streaming, which I've got to bring up, opposed to physical media. You've mentioned cuts. You can
I know
get
where you're
different
going with
types
this.
of cuts on physical media. But the great thing with physical media is generally, where available, you will get the uncut versions of
Yeah,
films.
unrated or
Yeah. And
uncensored.
that's great. But sometimes there's movies that you'd think that shouldn't be cut, and then you discover that
they have been cut without like.
Anybody telling
Without-
you.
yeah.
So, and this is what I found on streaming, that I've watched movies on streaming and movies that I know, and I'm like, hang on a minute, that's been cut out, that's been cut out, that's been cut out. Now, Somebody who hasn't watched that movie before wouldn't know that. And what kind of bugs me is that somebody out there working for those streaming services are deciding what they feel you should be allowed to watch. And if you don't know that they are systematically censoring those movies, you're not getting the full movie experience for starters. But somebody is making a decision for you, saying, "No, we're not going to let you see that."
And obviously, you're going to judge the film based upon what you
What
see.
you've seen.
Yeah.
And should that censorship have a detrimental effect on your viewing experience?
And
If you
that's why I watch the streaming services, and I think, am I being kind of manipulated?
Am I
here?
cheated? I'm being cheated here.
But if you're none the wiser, like if you're a general moviegoer and you watch this film,
Yeah, but don't you think it's a bit clandestine that if there are people out there deciding what they feel you should be allowed to see?
it is. But if you're just a general, you don't really know that there's an unrated cut that's 10 minutes longer, and you just see the theatrical cut. Are you really going to care?
Well,
I am.
you
Well,
might-
we're in the minority. We've
you,
established
you
this.
might not care, but when it comes to certain types of movies or documentaries or historical based things, that gives us quite a big scope for manipulation.
Conspiracies.
Well,
Part 2.
for example,
actually.
this is maybe a good example or not, I don't know, but with everybody should be familiar. So now I'm trying to choose a movie where everybody's familiar with the movie. So if I said Highlander,
Right.
okay, Highlander. So when I decided I was going to get Highlander on physical media and buy it,
Yeah.
going through, have a little search. This was quite some time ago, obviously, and then it said extended version. Ooh, extended version. Right, well, that's great because I'm always up for an extra couple of minutes of footage,
Yeah.
And then it was only available in region 1, which is
America.
Right. Okay.
America. So I suddenly discovered there was an extended version of Highlander that could only be bought from America, region 1. So
Another con to physical media. Sorry, Karen.
So it was where you have to get a multi-region player. So I was like, okay, I'm going to get this because I want to know what this extra footage is. Really one of my favourite movies, so I'm going to watch this. But thankfully, before I bought this special edition extended version, with a little bit of Googling, I discovered that the extended version in America is actually exactly the same as our Highlander, because in America, do you remember the bit where he rescues Rachel as a little girl?
In the World War II.
Yeah, World War II scene. They cut that out of it because
Right.
they felt it was too offensive
Yeah, I
to
suppose there's
certain parts
Nazis
of
and
the
things.
society.
Yeah.
So they never got to see it.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. People are then doctoring movies because they think, no, you shouldn't watch this, and that kind of takes away from the person who's written, the script writer, the director, and everything that's put that in. And somebody somewhere is making a decision.
Somebody who had nothing to do with the actual film itself.
But they are, for some reason, making decisions on what they think that you should be allowed to see, and I find that very offensive. And they should have if it's a theatrical cut, that's fine. If there is an option for an extended cut, just look at the Lord of the Rings. If you could watch that'd be great.
There aren't
But
any
it's-
extended
but-
versions of Lord of the Rings on streaming though.
But
There are.
Are there?
But
Oh, nice.
it's when
Which one?
you have a
You
movie.
can buy them.
Oh.
It's when you have a
Don't want
movie like a theatrical cut movie, and then they go and cut it more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what really annoys me with streaming. And if you don't know that that's happening to you, I find that very clandestine. That it's like people are manipulating people without them even knowing they're being manipulated.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's on a disc, that's it. You can't get
That's it.
someone to come
That
around.
is the end of the line in the
You know.
sand.
But it does take up space.
Oh, come on. They're like, VHS are chunky, but like discs.
Well,
Discs are tiny.
I
Or the
know
box.
a friend of ours,
Slimline cases.
on Facebook, he made a comment that he was really pleased to get rid of all of his physical media.
Well, that's why you see a lot in
No.
CX
Because
now.
he said,
CX is
my,
running off
my
of that.
house was starting to look like Blockbusters.
Great.
Yeah, that's okay. But other people are going, why have I got all this stuff here? You know, it's like,
To watch.
well, yeah.
But if you're not into okay, this is gonna be a very weird metaphor, but if you're not into teddy bears,
Yep.
and you keep getting given teddy bears, and they're taking up loads of space, you're gonna give away the teddy bears. It's
Yes.
the same as people with physical media. If they're not into DVDs and they're given loads of DVDs and they've amassed them over the years, and they look at their shelf and go, "Oh, I'd rather have books or something on there."
I mean, I will happily accept
Books.
any donations of physical media.
That's
Don't
another.
go down the books route because
That's another physical
media.
versus streaming.
See, again, I mean,
I don't know why I use teddy bears, but it's just the first thing that came to mind.
Well, no, because I
just mean it's something you're not interested in.
There are hilarious situations where I've known friends where they've commented on something like, "Oh, I really like that frog. Like it's a stone frog or something," and they bought it for their garden, and then all their friends think, "Oh, they love frogs," and then all they ever get is like given different frogs. I was on holiday in Mexico, and I brought you back another frog, and they go, "Thank you very much."
That's why.
Why have you got the
companies like CX are just packed full of DVDs now because people just don't want them. They're all on their streaming.
Literally, they had last time I went in there. Like, you know how they obviously have all the shelves where they're all lined up alphabetically, whatever. They actually went to the extent of they had so many Blu-rays that they literally had a big curver box in the middle of the store, literally just a ton just stacked up in there.
Well, isn't that a sign that people
for like £1?
People just don't want it anymore.
I want it.
Okay.
But we've established in this episode that we are
but this
of a
brings,
minority.
Hang on. This does bring me up to another area that we haven't discussed, and that is visual quality of what you're watching and listening to. The thing is, again, if you're streaming something, it's not always perfect quality of what you're compared to if you're watching a Blu-ray or 4K.
Just of my own experience, I rented Scream 6 the other day for $1.99 in Ultra HD, and it looked perfect. I wouldn't even know if it was any different to physical media.
But surely
this is just my experience.
But would you be able to? Didn't you say, Zach, about something that if people say they're streaming something in high definition?
There is compression.
It's not always going to be that you can see it in high definition.
It may come from for instance, a 4K source. The source material may be in that definition, but there's only some extent that you can actually physically stream.
But people,
it's like broadcast television. You only get a couple of HD channels, and you think that nowadays that would be silly. Why wouldn't all of them be HD? But they can only. It's so expensive to do.
But again,
that it's not that feasible for the majority.
Again, we're part of that pie chart. We're a very tiny slither of that pie chart that care about picture quality.
But
I want the best experience possible.
A lot of people, people in my family still buy DVDs. That's fine because that's enough for them.
But you say about if you watch BBC One, on its normal channel, you kind of get used to it. But then if you watch it on their HD channel, boom! You go back to the normal channel. You go, oh gosh, this is poor quality compared to
for instance
the HD. So
if you have,
isn't this restricted to what the equipment that people are watching it on?
Yeah.
If somebody's got a 32-inch flat screen TV that they bought from Argos,
just 1080p.
That's 1080p. Then they're not.
The HD channel
isn't going to monkeys about.
They're not going to get a 4K experience.
That's the point I'm trying to make.
But my 4K TV, for instance, if I'm watching broadcast television, the standard channels look horrible. Whereas the HD channels are probably the only ones you want to actually bother watching because they look good.
HD is becoming like the standard definition that you can't watch anything on streaming that's 720p. It's all 1080p now. Most TVs now, it's hard to buy a TV that isn't HD.
Yeah.
But
generally, people will just buy HD TV. They won't have a 4K external player. They won't have a 4K TV. They won't have 4K HD, Ultra HD Blu-rays.
Yeah, I mean, a
DVD will be enough for them.
But then again, that's an argument that I would put towards physical media opposed to going to the cinema, which is a form of streaming. Because the amount of times I've gone to the cinema, and obviously nowadays that's digitally projected. Before, when it was not digital, I mean, I saw when it was on the cusp and crossing over. I think it was the third Harry Potter movie or something. I saw it a couple of times, and I saw it digital projection, and I went to another cinema where it was still on the old film reels, and it was so blurred. It was so poor on the quality. It was agony to watch.
Was this the stream thing or the spools?
No, it was the spools. It was that because it wasn't focused properly. Right. So you're going to get kind of like a kind of with now going to the cinema, you're getting that image which is digitally projected, and you get that quality.
And cameras are better now.
But I still get a better image quality when I come back and I watch a movie again and I see it at home and I go, do you know, I couldn't see that when I was at the cinema. But that.
Do you see my point? By generally people don't. We're quite into our picture quality and things, but generally people don't like. people in my family aren't that into film. Like, I'm the only one that was sort of interested in like picture quality.
We'll help support you, Jack.
But if we watch a DVD or a Blu-ray, they wouldn't know the difference. It's just a film.
Well, yeah. But do you
Like,
think...
I'm going to watch a film with my mum. She's not going to go, oh, this isn't quite 4K.
Yeah,
we
I
need
know.
to watch
But
this on physical media.
Do you think if somebody
It's just a
is
film.
introduced to seeing a film that they like,
Yes.
say they really like Titanic,
Yeah.
and then they go see Titanic in a restored like 4K, and they go, wow,
I've
this
seen
is
more than I've ever seen
more
before.
than I've ever
Yeah.
seen before. This is so good, and then they go back to watch it, and they go, oh, this is awful. That suddenly they go realisation.
I prefer
of
to
what I'm
watch this
missing.
on the higher.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to affect their
Or do you
like
think
lives
people
going
become
forward.
so kind of, you know?
They go, oh wow, I saw Titanic in 4K. That was really good. Doesn't
but
mean they're going to say I need to watch
sort of-
everything in
But
4K.
doesn't that kind of like throw into the mix when people actually write up, you know, they or even don't have to be a written critic about a movie, but even people when they say, oh, I saw that movie and I thought it was awful, or I didn't like that movie at all, and part of that might be based on the fact that the image quality wasn't very good, and because we've watched movies before, just like was it Predator 3? Is Alien vs Predator 3? Is it Requiem? Is that the third one?
AVP2.
2. Couldn't see anything. So dark.
That's more about how it was made. That was the cinematography.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
what I mean. So if you watch a movie and it's poor quality because of that, you're going to go, oh, that was awful. And then you get to see it on a better set of equipment and you suddenly see what you were missing.
The Blu-ray is better on that.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is that does that not mean that certain movies, if you're streaming it and you're not seeing it in its best light, that you're going to then make kind of false judgments on a movie?
But films, the classic films like Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Star Wars, were never released in 4K when they first came out.
No, they weren't.
Pitch quality wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
problem.
It wasn't. It wasn't. Yeah, the story held me. I loved that movie. I saw it 7 times at the cinema when that
Yes.
came out. Absolutely glued to it, and I could never, ever see R2D2 and C3PO in the Well of Souls until recently. We were watching it on the TV the other day, and actually that was just Freeview, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Preview, and it was suddenly so much better quality than what I would have seen at the cinema.
Yeah.
And it was like, there they are. That's
Yeah.
all these years later.
Engraved
Picture quality is better, and I could see C3PO and R2D2 on the column, and it's like, and that's the first time I see it. I've known about it for years, couldn't see it, but then picture quality gets better. So, you know,
I don't think I don't think unless you're a big film fan like we are, I don't think you go out of your way to say I need a 4K more than a DVD.
yeah, but
Or if I've got it on
I
TV,
suppose it just really depends on
ready-made
how much
4K.
of an experience you want. If you're fine with just whatever,
but
then
I'm
fine.
talking.
But if you want that better experience, then
we're having this kind of discussion because the listeners are probably all screaming at us at the same time. But okay, Jack, can you put me into how this works? I'm streaming movies. Maybe do these streaming things have an ability to record movies for you? Or
That'd
not?
be piracy.
Okay, so you know some people have Skybox. I don't have a Skybox anymore, and I think you can go away on holiday and it will pre-record stuff. So
You
when
can
come back,
record TV shows and
can-
things.
I don't know how it works.
That's not a thing that happens anymore. Really.
So really,
mum
what
still
you're
does.
saying is that if you watch stuff, then it becomes unavailable. Then it becomes unavailable.
Yeah,
That's the end of it.
that's it.
So if you've got the physical media, it never becomes unavailable because you've always got it.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that would annoy me.
How many times have you watched? Like, have you watched all of the Blu-rays you've got twice?
Oh gosh, probably. Apart from the ones where I've gone out. Okay,
I'm looking at these. We've got some in here.
they're duplicates. Every single one in that room over there, we have seen and have a duplicate.
Yes.
Okay, that's a different story. The fact you've got 2 is weird, but
No, because you get the Blu-ray, the DVD release, and then
Blu-ray, then 4K.
4K, and then the other ones become redundant. You
but
flog
what
them.
I'm trying to say is that is fair enough because I do the same thing. I've got a lot of 4Ks,
Okay.
Steelbooks, Arrow Video Blu-rays. I love it.
Yeah,
Okay.
It doesn't necessarily mean that everyone does that.
of course.
Okay, so I'm going to be a bit nerdy.
What I'm trying to say
I'm
is
gonna
like
be a bit nerdy
90% of people probably just want to watch something on TV.
Okay.
Maybe
I'm gonna be a bit
listeners
nerdy.
comment below.
Yeah.
What do you prefer, physical media or streaming?
I'm gonna
We
be a
would
bit-
love to know.
I mean,
know.
as we established at the start of this episode, it's just a discussion. There
this
is no
this-
winners.
of course, we're not trying to convince anybody of anything because we're all individuals.
It's a discussion.
But for example, I scale my love of watching movies on like 2 levels.
Right.
Level 1, I want to go to the cinema and watch it.
Okay.
I go to the cinema and watch it. Like I just watched Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Yep.
And no spoilers for those who haven't seen it. I really enjoyed it. So of course, because I enjoyed it, I want to get that on 4K.
Yep.
So that I can watch it again.
Yeah.
And then what'll happen is somewhere down the line, I'll say, oh, I haven't watched that for a while. I'll watch it again. And that's what happens.
And you can
with
do that
ours.
at your leisure.
Oh, well, that's what
Not
happens.
based upon a internet connection.
No. So we go, okay, do you know, I've looked at the streaming, there's nothing jumping out on me on the streaming. Out comes the entertainment's compendium of Zak's. And
That's a personal list.
what should we watch?
Personal list.
Then we go through, is it going to be action, is it going to be horror, is it going to be this, and then we whittle down. And of course we see movies again, and go, oh yeah, I haven't watched that one for a while, let's watch it again. So level 1, I'll go to the cinema and watch it. Level 2, I'm not really that interested in paying out the money to go to the cinema. I will definitely wait and spend 15 quid on buying the Blu-ray for it.
Okay. And you would admit you're a film fan.
Oh yes.
So that's what a film fan would do, and you're a fan of physical media.
Yep.
Generally, someone that's just curious about films or doesn't really have... We're very lucky to have the space for physical media.
Yeah.
We're lucky to have a 4K player. We're lucky to have 4K TVs.
Yeah.
A lot of people will go to the cinema and say, oh, I really enjoyed Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny. When it comes out on Disney Plus, I'll watch it again.
Or they'll
And that's
wait
it.
for it to come out on Freeview.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think people will go, image quality is not great. It could be a little bit sharper. I want to see
But
the
don't-
point. Like there's
Don't,
not...
don't you think if somebody is watching a movie... So,
we're
say-
talking about this from our perspective.
but
I don't think 90% of people would agree.
But do you think if something like Indiana Jones, the Dial of Destiny came out on Freeview because it's 2 years down the line and they can put it out for Christmas, or BBC One puts it out as a Christmas special, if somebody's watching on their TV, maybe it's because of the quality of the television or whatever, it's a bit dull, darker, they're not seeing certain things happening because it's a bit obscure.
What have they got compared
Are
to,
they going
to
to go?
compare that to?
Yeah, they're going to go, oh, this isn't very good. But actually, they're not getting the full beauty of that production. I don't know.
It depends what you want from the experience. If you're just a very, very casual, you don't really care about these type of specifics.
Exactly.
Then you're just casual viewer. If you don't mind, then that's fine.
Maybe
A lot of people probably
But
don't
if
even...
you do mind, then of course you're going to want the best experience
So you
possible.
can get-
I know a friend of mine who's just recently gone to see Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Yeah.
My good friend.
Is it me?
No.
Oh.
He's a good friend.
He had not seen any of the other Indiana Jones films.
Really?
But he'd gone to see Dial of Destiny because he's quite a big fan of the cinema.
Yeah.
So I said, "Oh, you should watch them." And he said, "Okay, but they're all on Disney Plus. I'll go and watch them. I've got him on Letterboxd, so I can sort of see what his verdicts were."
Mm-hmm.
He watched Raiders of the Lost Ark, gave it 5 stars out of 5. Obviously, really enjoyed it. Watching it on Disney Plus without any of the extra features. Probably in HD, probably not in 4K crisp on a disc. He went away. He watched Temple of Doom, gave it 5 stars. Watched it on Disney Plus. Didn't need the 4K disc. Didn't need all the extra features. Still gave it a 5 out of 5. He went to see. He watched Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. 4.5 stars is what it is. Watched it on Disney Plus. Didn't need a 4K crisp disc. Didn't need all the extra features. He still had a 5 out of 5 star experience
Yeah.
watching the old Indiana Jones films.
Okay. I'll
Do you see the point I'm trying to
But
make?
is that going to be? I do understand what you're trying to say, but could that not be, the same or different for anyone? Like, everyone's going to have their own opinion on something.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is the fact he didn't watch it on a 4K disc with all the bells and whistles didn't make any difference to his enjoyment of the film.
But would it make it even better if he did?
He gave it a 5 out of 5.
Right, okay.
Yeah, but would he enjoy it even
Well, I
more?
mean,
Would it make him want to go and
talking
watch
about-
it
He probably
again?
doesn't care what the making of or the behind the scenes or the deleted scenes or the gag reel or anything. He probably didn't care. He just watched all the films and enjoyed them.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to say. The general,
Yeah, I see what you mean.
the general
I see what you mean.
moviegoer doesn't. What I'm trying to say is we're a minority of people that really enjoy that sort of thing,
Yeah.
which is great, and we're keeping the physical media market alive.
Yeah.
The physical media
Just the
market.
three of us in this room.
The physical media market is changing.
But then again-
the landscape is changing towards a more collector's market.
But I suppose that's when you say about he watched them, gave it a 5 out of 5 for say Temple of Doom. But I guarantee you, if you watch Temple of Doom, and I don't know if this is on the streaming service he watched it on, but if you watch Temple of Doom, a lot of them cut out the heart bit, don't they? Yeah, where the guy
The Kalimar.
Kalimar, and then he's like holds his heart up in the air.
I mean, it was
They
on
cut that out.
It was on Disney, so probably.
Yeah, so they cut that out, and you go. So he's given it 5 out of 5, although possibly he might have been watching a cut movie.
Yeah, but he still enjoyed it, and
But
that's
he
how
wouldn't know any different.
and that's how it's being presented to him.
Yeah, okay. I can see what you're saying. But
And he didn't have to go out and buy it on a disc.
so there is this battle between physical media and streaming.
And I do think
Maybe it's down to the individual human being, and the reason I say this is because you touched upon books.
Yeah.
And I grew up in a house full of books. And I have a house full of books. And I'm one of those people that if I go into a bookshop, and especially a second-hand bookshop, I want to come out with loads of books.
Yeah.
I love a physical book, the touch of the book, the smell of the book, to flick through a book and read it page by page. And I've tried doing Kindles, and that just doesn't do it for me. It's just digital words on a digital device, and there's no physical interaction with that story, apart from obviously what you're reading, in your head, but I can't do Kindle.
Yeah.
I want the physical book. And of course then you might say to me the same thing. Well, if you've read that book, are you going to read it again? What's the point?
Well, or do you want a copy where the words are just that little bit sharper? They're just that little bit clearer, and then in the back you've got a little extra note from the author. You're going to go out and buy the book again.
Oh, you mean if they brought out second edition?
Yes, with clearer words.
Sometimes they do that, though, don't they? Sometimes you have a second edition and they add extra bits like photos behind the scenes. I don't know.
Are we not in with this conversation? Are we not gonna spiral into infinite?
Yeah,
that's why
I suppose
infinite
what I was
thing.
let me finish. What I was trying to say is, but then I've got a lot of friends and people that I've gone into their homes, and there is not a book to be seen. There's a house that has no books. And maybe what I'm talking about is maybe it's just down to the person or people, because I'm a person who loves to have books and bookshelves around, whereas other people go, that's clutter, don't want it. And maybe that's the whole idea with physical media. They look at it and go, why the hell do I want to have all this stuff stuck around me?
As humans, everything we've ever created has always been for our own comfort and to make our lives easier. If you look at anything, it's that we've created is to make our lives easier and less confusing.
From tin openers with a windy handle.
That's the subject for another podcast, okay?
Everything we've made.
That's just to annoy me.
Everything we've made is to make our lives easier. Streaming, I think, is the next step for that in terms of film. It just makes our lives easier. People generally don't care about all the booklets and the art cards and things.
And that's why we're heading towards the metaverse. And does that not mean we're going to end up in floaty chairs? It's a very, very overweight.
It's a very
just consuming and consuming.
Wally.
That's it.
It's a very depressing subject for someone that loves film because that is the thing I love.
It is where it's going.
I'm on the fence. I'm not on the fence. I'm on the side of the fence of physical media. That's the thing I still collect. I still have physical media that's been dispatched. That's on its way to my house right now, which I'm going to enjoy. That's how I enjoy my films. I still like streaming. There are films that I have discovered through physical media, great films that are some of my favourite films to this day that I've discovered just by buying them on Blu-ray or discovering them second-hand.
So wouldn't that be a plus towards physical media?
It is, definitely.
You can discover things that you would otherwise just never, ever get the opportunity to
Exactly,
see.
and that's one of the things I love about physical media, and that's why I'm for physical media. But a lot of films I wouldn't have seen if it wasn't for streaming.
Right, so ease of use is streaming. But for your wider choice, physical media?
Yes, but there are films like I watched Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is fantastic. If you haven't had a chance to see that yet.
We've seen half of it.
It's really good.
5 minutes.
Is it 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Right. I felt like half of it.
It's a really interesting, unique look at the multiverse. It's the best multiverse film I think I've seen.
I think what it was
other than Across the Spider-Verse.
Because we hadn't been told what the movie was about.
Yeah.
Hadn't seen anything about it, so we watched the first little bit, not knowing that it was to do with anything other than
I
that.
just remember it getting rave reviews.
Okay, we're not reviewing that film
No,
today.
no.
Okay, and
maybe we turned it off too soon.
You did.
that's become an Amazon original, so I wouldn't have had a chance to see that if it wasn't for Amazon Prime. So there's what I'm trying to say is there's certain films that I really enjoy.
You can't go and buy that on physical media.
You can't, not in this country. There's certain things that I've found through physical media that have become my favourite films, but there's certain films I would never have seen that have become my favourite films through streaming. So what I'm trying to say is I like film. I'm for both of them. I love my physical media. There's still films that I want to see on physical media.
As I say, we are obviously avid physical media collectors,
I wouldn't
but that doesn't stop us from using streaming.
Yeah, I wouldn't refuse to see a film. I'd say, if that's only on Amazon Prime, I'll refuse to see it.
I've already proved the point because I wanted to see a movie.
Exactly.
I had to go and pay for streaming.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think the future of physical media is that it's just going to become a deluxe sort of collector's market.
Okay.
I don't think we've got much longer for physical media, to be honest, especially DVDs. I think it'll become...
Well, it seems to have it's gotten better and better and better, physical media. What they're chucking at you, the restorations, the added extras, what comes with in a lot of
I think that is because the market's smaller, isn't it?
Do you think that's going to just peak? And then the companies that are producing all that are going to themselves say,
it's not worth it anymore.
We've hit a point now that it's not worth it.
That would be a dark day.
It would be a dark
day.
day.
I think that probably will be the case. I think eventually it will become...
But do you think that means the physical films that are on physical media that you can then literally never find on streaming would become themselves collectibles?
Possibly, yeah. I don't know.
We haven't got that far yet.
But I think things will become limited edition. They'll release it'll be cheaper to release 1,000 copies of Carlito's Way than it would be to do 10,000 DVDs that I'm going to sell.
The premise of this conversation was, you said it at the beginning, what's better, streaming?
Not necessarily what's better, just this landscape at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay. But do you not say that, and you kind of mentioned it on the way into the studio today, is there not a potential slippery slide?
Yes.
You've mentioned several times about it's easier to watch streaming, that it's easy. People, maybe I don't want to say to anybody out there that you're being lazy, but for those people that it's just an easy way of chucking yourself on your settee when you got back from work and you can hit the click box. And
they don't care about obscure 60s
so I don't
horror.
I don't want to use the word lazy, but it's just easy.
They don't have an interest in it, which is fine.
Which means that people were just going to have things slammed at them. Streaming companies are going to prioritise stuff and flash it up on the screen. You want to watch this, you want to watch this.
Yeah.
But on the way in, you mentioned the strike that's on in the States, and isn't that kind of a slippery slope, the fact that the writers are on strike because of AI, because AI is getting to write stuff now, and the companies are saying, hey, we can shortcut our way around it. Why do we need to pay physically people to write scripts when we can just get AI to bang out this kind of again, I don't want to be mean, but this kind of garbage TV
content. Yeah, it's quantity over quality a lot of the time now, I think, but that's more where the film industry is at the moment.
Do you have any views on the strike at the moment?
So I listened to an interview with Neil Marshall, who, if you don't know, was the director of Dog Soldiers, Doomsday,
and the new Hellboy.
The Descent. He didn't like that. If you listen to the interview, he really does not like that film.
It's a shame, because I felt it was more like the actual cartoons,
had the most producer interference. Anyway, that's not the point. Okay. The point is, he spoke about a golden age, which was when a film he would make would come out of the cinema. He would get the money from the ticket sales, and then eventually it would come out on DVD. Then you get another influx of money from people going out to buy the DVD, because that was the only way they could see it. With the streaming now, he said he's had to basically line up 3 movies in a row to make, because once it's out on streaming, that's it. The money stops coming in. Unless you've got a share in the subscription fee that people are paying. That's it. You're not getting any more money. And if it's a small indie film, it's not going to generate that much money at the cinema. So things like Shawshank Redemption, it's considered one of the best films ever made now, but at the cinema it didn't do very well. It's when it came out on DVD that it gained traction and became a very popular film. So that's why I think these strikes are kind of part of the reason why these strikes are happening, is because there just isn't that money coming in anymore.
But surely that's reflective of the music industry as well, though.
Music as well, yeah. Because I think people just feel they're being
going straight onto the stream, where you go onto literally you can go onto iPlayer or Spotify and listen to stuff, and it's people aren't getting their music rights from it.
It's just I've tried to defend streaming as much as I can through this episode just to make it an interesting listen.
Yeah,
but it is increasingly becoming more of just this content mill of just stuff. Just watch this, 10 episodes of this, 8 episodes of this. Marvel's a very good example. I think the Disney CEO, I'm not sure, I only read it briefly, but the Disney CEO said something like people have lost interest in Marvel now because there's just too much of it to pay attention to.
Oh, I say I did the same with Star Wars. Star Wars has just gone crazy, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I've lost track of how many different side series there are for Star Wars.
Exactly. It's become too much to consume now. And I think that people are starting to realise that.
And again, it kind of layers up so much that it just feels like you're watching the same thing over and over.
But I think the problem is as well, you're only really paying like your monthly fee to these films that are being made like a Disney Plus original or an Amazon original.
Yeah.
That's the only money that's actually coming in unless they start putting ads in. So that's the only way I think they'll start making more money off these
And then
films.
they'll have the premium
Yeah.
subscription.
Exactly. So you'll pay an extra £3 a month to not have ads. And then films will start integrating ad breaks. And there will be adverts before and after the film, which is already a thing on
That you have to watch.
on Now TV. They already do sort of adverts and
And
things.
it'll change once people start going put their headsets on and going into the metaverse. It'll also change for those people as well.
But I think very much so. This is my view anyway. I think it's just become quantity over quality now.
Yeah.
So
More and more increasingly.
So if you're not fussed about the quality, you're just happy to watch a movie and eat a packet of popcorn, streaming is your best option.
Yes. For the general moviegoer, I'd say streaming is just the convenient option.
So
If you want to kill 2 hours, I'm not saying it's the best experience you'll have, but a lot of people don't care about that
for us,
crisp 4K
so
or
for-
those art
for
cards.
us film nerds,
Yes.
we're on a precipice. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
When it comes
Oh,
to-
no.
We're on the knife edge of physical media.
I believe so.
And so in 10 years from now, it'll be, unless I stick my headset on and walk down my virtual street to my virtual cinema to
no.
watch a virtual streamed
I think-
movie that
It'd be interesting to come back to this
I'll be
topic.
dusting off all my
few
old
years down the line.
4Ks then.
I think in 10 years' time it will be, let's say Jaws in Space comes out in
I've
the
watched
year 20.
Didn't we have that with
Sharknado.
Sharknado?
I think
Okay.
that's the third one.
Jaws in Space comes out in the year 2050.
Yeah.
Right? I think maybe not 2050. I think we'll all be like
I think we're thinking of Back to the Future films.
2030. Okay, this is
Okay.
my
What's the
prediction.
features in
Jaws
Back
in
to the
Space. This
Future?
is my prediction. Okay, we'll come
Okay.
back to this in 2030.
2030.
Jaws will come out in 2030. Jaws in Space.
Jaws in Space.
It will come out in your virtual cinema.
Yep.
And you can pay your ticket fee, virtual digital ID, whatever it is,
Yeah.
which is a thing now. Digital ID is
Well,
becoming a thing.
because especially if by 2030 we've hit a cashless society.
Exactly. You'll watch Jaws in Space. You'll go, that was really great. Some company somewhere called I don't know, Zak Wylde Video,
I like that.
who's obsessed with restoring films and keeping them in physical media, will have enough money to release 1,000 copies of Jaws in Space on 12K. And those 1,000 copies will be sold to big movie fans who really enjoy Jaws in Space. That's it. That's what I think will happen. There'll be 1,000 copies in the world. You'll make a little bit of money and that'll be it. The rest will all be through one of your 10,000 subscriptions that you've got.
Blimey. But just imagine that, like,
That's just the business way. it
for
would
instance, if it had, like,
So
as you say,
what
1,000
shares-
copies, the price of each individual unit of that is going to be quite expensive,
go.
isn't
No,
it?
because I don't think the audience will be there for it. Because we'll all be so used to being able to see these things instantly on streaming. People won't go, why would I want to buy a
But
box
hang
with the
on
film?
again, because that would bring in the fact that in 2030 would maybe be a reflection of where I would have been back in the 90s. We had hi-fi stack systems.
Hmm.
I think I've got one stuck out in the shed that probably doesn't even work. So your equipment for watching
Yeah.
physical media is
True.
going to slowly disappear.
Exactly.
You might say it's all there now,
I mean, we mentioned it earlier.
but it's just the same as if you open an Argos catalogue or you go on Amazon. I don't know about Amazon, but if you go, you're not going to find a video player there.
No,
to
not
buy.
anymore, no.
No.
You might-
And what we said earlier about the PS5 digital, no disc tray. That's it.
Yep.
Like that. That's
But
the
then
way we're going.
surely aren't you going to even whatever the technology is you're using to access the metaverse? Aren't you then going to go into the metaverse to play your games?
Probably.
Anyway,
I mean, we're on a new.
It'd probably
new-
get rid of having to have individual game systems
Mm,
because you would visit the Sony Game Center in
or the
the
meta
metaverse,
games
or
or
the
something.
Nintendo Game Center.
Yeah, exactly.
And you just log in with your login details, and you'll be in there playing the games.
It's like we said before.
So you wouldn't even have the game systems at home.
It's like we briefly said before we started recording about a film called Ready Player One, where they go to the theatre in the.
Yes.
Is it the Oasis they call it?
Yeah.
Where it's literally a theatre that they go into in VR and they can go and experience The Shining and they go into the hotel and everything. I imagine I'd say that's like 2070, but yeah.
Okay.
So we've been going on about this for the last hour, 10 minutes.
Okay.
So yeah, just to summarise.
Summary.
Let's get
Summarise.
to a summary. Yeah.
I'm all for physical media. I love physical media, but I think the future is streaming, and I think streaming is very quickly catching up to physical media in terms of quality and just accessibility. So I think it won't be long until it's purely streaming, and physical media will just become a collector's market. That's my summary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I love my physical media. I have accepted that for some things I have to use streaming. I still feel, even though that we're on probably the best broadband in the area, that we still get the odd buffer glitch and bounce,
Audio
which I don't
niggle.
get, which niggles me because we don't get that when you're watching physical media. But yeah, I can see what you're saying, Jack. I can see where it's going. But if you want this is it. If you want the fullest and best experience, then that's why I go for physical media.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Because you've got stuff. I'm interested in the extras. And streaming doesn't give you all the extras for everything you watch.
But my point is, I don't think the demand for having that ultra amazing experience of a film is there anymore. That's what I'm trying to say.
It's a shame. I mean,
it's true, though,
and
isn't
yet
it? It's true.
these things are so widely kind of accessible and available.
the thing
We haven't even touched on what will happen to cinema.
I watched.
Well, that was the thing. A few years ago, cinema was supposedly like dead because of streaming, and yet it's still there.
It's still there because at the moment it's clinging on to the blockbuster experience.
Yeah, which are again becoming.
But
tripe.
I think as soon as people start accepting the metaverse, they're going to stop going to the cinema, and that will go the way of blockbuster. And film companies will.
Well, as soon as something becomes more accessible, like people don't even go to the shops anymore; they order it in, they get it delivered to you.
People are going to stick their headset on. They're not even going to be watching a TV in the lounge. They're going to be putting their headset
wherever
on,
they are.
wherever they are, or if you're going to have a whole family sitting in the lounge, not even talking to each other with their headsets on.
Or is that just people on phones nowadays?
There's people on phones.
Have you heard of Rec Room?
Yeah.
Have you heard of Rec Room?
No.
That's a thing already. I've got it on my PSVR,
Okay.
where you basically go into this VR world, and everyone else who's in this room is also seeing the same things. So instead of, you wouldn't need, like as you say, you wouldn't need a TV.
No.
You'd all go into this one room and all watch the same thing.
So you'll all be sitting there. So if somebody was standing there watching you, you're literally all going to be sitting on chairs, sort of slowly, sort of maybe swaying from side to side, a little bit of body movement, maybe ducking, maybe diving because
It's a
something's happening on
3D,
screen.
4D
But
film.
there's just families upon families, people in their houses, just in this kind of zombie state, because they're living the experience in that virtual world, and they're not going to say, "I want to go to the cinema." Why do
They're going to stop doing a lot of things.
Why do I want to go to the cinema?
What is a cinema?
When I can do
Yeah.
what I'm doing here. I think that's the way cinema's going.
I think-
cinema's going to go the same way as Blockbuster, but the companies that run cinema have got to therefore invest their money into the metaverse.
I mean, Netflix killed Blockbuster.
To draw this kind of to a close,
Again.
because we'll keep
And
going
we do
on
have
about
another
this.
segment. So.
Yeah. So this is obviously a topic that we are very passionate about,
Yeah.
and we could go on for hours about it.
Part
So I
two.
think definitely a part 2, maybe not next week, but sometime down the line, maybe even a year from now.
Yeah.
Just revisit it, see where things are.
This is how things have changed.
Yeah.
Or
And
we
it'd be
do
nice to kind of go over it again.
on the Now We Know show. If you haven't, this is maybe your first episode you've listened to. We do a lot of episodes about like technology and the future of technology. So again, it might pop up again in some other episode.
We did one of the popular ones recently was about AI, artificial intelligence.
Yes.
But already, because it's pushing forward so fast, we now have right on the verge ASI, which is artificial super intelligence.
Which can be the topic for another episode.
So we are going to have to come back, and that's what I mean. Things
Which is a
change
good reason to
things change
subscribe.
rapidly, so we have to come back. So keep listening, listeners.
Which is a good reason to subscribe to the channel.
Anyway,
Yes.
we've got something.
It's the return
the return
of everyone's favourite segment.
Okay.
As I'm the patron saint of this,
Yes,
of
come
this
on,
segment,
Jack. We've been missing you, Jack.
I have brought back. Let's get quizzical.
Yay!
Let's get quizzical, quizzical. I want to get quizzical. Let's get into quizzical.
Let me hear your mind talk.
Let me hear your streaming talk.
Okay. Anyway, let's get quizzical.
Okay.
Is it me against Zach, is it?
It is.
How's it? Okay.
I'm not really sure how we're going to score this. There are 11 questions.
Okay, well, we'll just have to try and wing it.
I mean, there's a pen up there. I can write it on my arm.
Okay. There's also a pen down there.
Okay,
There's
I'm
pens all over
going
the
down.
studio. Oh, why did you choose the down pen?
There's also a paper down here.
Oh,
From
Oh,
a
there's a
previous
pad.
previous.
there's a pad there.
We'll go for the pad. We'll go for the pad.
There you are. This is all. See, this is off the cuff, listeners. There you go. have a
Okay,
pad.
I've got the pad.
We're very organised here at the Now We Know
Let's,
Show.
let's throw that sound effects, Foley. Let's throw that bit of paper.
I think
on.
the term is ASMR.
Okay.
Ooh.
Do people like listening to people crunching paper?
That can be our episode 69.
What,
ASMR. Maybe if we've really run out of ideas, we can do
Let's
ASMR.
get quizzical.
Okay, let's get quizzical.
So, as the topic has come up a lot in this episode, I thought we'd do like a film quiz.
Ooh.
So, we talked briefly about discovering new films and interesting titles
Okay, listeners, you play as well.
through physical media and streaming. So, I have 11 movie titles
Okay.
that may or may not be real movies.
Ooh,
It's like
I'm
summer.
intrigued.
So, they might be fake movie titles or real movie titles.
Okay.
All you need to do is tell me if they are true
True or false?
or false.
I'm going to scour my very extensive knowledge on this subject.
I think Zach should get 11 out of 11, but
Oh my god.
we'll see.
No, I'm showing me age now.
Number 1.
Okay.
Is it true or is it false? Robin Hood versus the Samurai Hordes. Tense in the studio.
False.
False. I've got to go false.
Correct. Points to both of you.
Okay. 1 for Buzz, 1 for Zach.
Number 2. Dr. Goldfoot and the Bikini Machine. Dr. Goldfoot and the Bikini Machine.
True.
True.
You're just going to copy. You can have a
No,
draw.
I remember something about
It is
this.
true. Correct.
Yes.
Something ringing a bell there.
I've seen it on Blu-ray. Well, not seen it on Blu-ray. I've seen it on Blu-ray available to watch.
Okay, I
Can
think
you get
there's
it on streaming then? That's the question. Carry on.
I think there's only 10 questions, so
Okay.
I'm missing number 3. So, number 3. Lesbian Ninjas Battle Royale.
That's got to be true.
I'm going to go false.
It is false.
Oh, it just sounded like the title that somebody had come out with.
Lesbian Ninjas Battle Royale, unfortunately, doesn't exist.
It may do now.
Number 4. Bride of the Gorilla.
Oh, that sounds like what's we call it?
Serial apist.
Again, I'm going to go true.
What was the name?
Bride of the Gorilla.
I'm going to go true.
I'm going to go false.
I think that's like a skit on King Kong.
It is real.
Yay!
It's from 1951. It's an adventure horror.
It's got to be a skit on King Kong, that is.
Shucks.
Number 5. Revenge of the Middle-Aged Woman.
False.
It sounds too mundanely real to be real, so I'm going to go false.
It is real.
Oh!
It is a TV movie from 2004.
The Revenge of the Middle-Aged Woman. Okay.
Okay. Number 6.
Number 6.
Night of the Day, of the Dawn, of the Sun, of the Bride, of the Return, of the Revenge, of the Terror, of the Attack, of the Evil Mutant, Hellbound, Flesh-Eating, Crawling, Alien, Zombified, Humanoid, Living Dead, Part 5.
I'm interested to see what you say, Buzz.
Would you like me to read it again?
No. Although my mind is screaming for me not to say this, I'm actually going to go true.
It is true.
It is true.
Yay!
It's in my Book of the Dead.
Oh, is it?
So
It just seems so mad that it has to be true. But that's why I thought the bikini samurai people should have been true.
4 apiece, by the way.
Ooh, it's tense. Number 7.
Okay,
Billy the Kid versus Dracula.
true.
True.
Correct. No tension on that
Very
one.
quick on that one.
Number 8. Bikini Girls on Dinosaur Planet.
Yeah, that's true. I'm sure that is.
True.
I'm sure. Something's ringing a bell with that one.
I mean, I'd be worried if it was, but it is true. And it is a porno, so
Aw.
you've exposed yourself.
I haven't watched it. Maybe this is one for our 69th episode.
Okay, number 9, the penultimate one.
Okay.
Me and My Invisible Genie. Me and My Invisible
Again,
Genie.
see, now I went with the Revenge of the Middle-Aged Woman in that it sounded like it should be, but I said it was false and it wasn't. It was true. So I'm going to go. This one sounds too that it is a movie. So I am going to go true.
I'm going to go false.
It is false.
Oh,
Yes!
I made that up.
Screw the pooch on that one.
Okay, number 10. Can you draw? What's the scores?
Scores are 7 to Zach, 6 to Buzz.
So you can draw it if you go for a different answer here.
Is there a prize?
No. Prize is pride.
Okay.
Number 10. Mad Maxine, Frisky Road.
Oh, that's definitely a true.
True.
It is true. Correct.
Zach takes it by
I'll
one.
take it by 1.
You took it because of the what's-we-call-it one?
Oh,
It is,
is it the genie one?
Yeah, the genie, invisible genie.
It is indeed a film. from 2018.
Now, since the nature of this is all about the pros and cons of physical media and streaming, Jack, how many of those movies are available on streaming?
I don't know. I'll have to check. There are probably some websites you can find them on.
And there we go. And then we round off this wonderful, wonderful episode. I hope we've all learned something.
I enjoyed that, yeah. It was a good discussion.
Before we leave,
Yep.
it's time for that
Oh.
other bit of the podcast.
That was a bonus segment.
Quote of the week.
Is
this a thing?
Has anyone got a quote?
I haven't got.
Because I've got a quote.
Okay,
Okay, you got a quote.
I've got a
You're
quote.
going to be
That's
the quote.
good. I was going to make one up. Sometimes we have to be bikini girls on Dinosaur Planet.
So, this is a quote from a great
Scholar.
scholar, Tom Savini, about films. Funny enough. Okay. When somebody says, "Oh, that's an old movie," well, it's not old if you haven't seen it.
There you go.
Profound.
Very
Yeah.
Profound and wise. In fact, that one you mentioned about the bikini girls, you see.
We're going back to
Are you
that.
That
interested?
reminded me of Nymphoid Barbarian in Dinosaur Hell,
That is a movie.
which is also a movie.
It's probably a
Good stop
rip-off.
motion, actually.
Yeah, it's got some really good
It
stuff.
might be a rip-off of it, I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder,
Oh,
'cause sometimes you get like movies that have the different titles in different countries.
Well, all of those films that I mentioned are on IMDb, apart from the ones that don't exist, but you can look them up if you're
They should
interested.
exist. Which
How,
one-
what,
which one-
what did you search to find them? I'm very intrigued.
It's the Let's Get Quizzical gods. They give me these quizzes.
I actually like the titles that were false that Jack
Yeah.
managed to come up with.
We should make them.
Yeah,
Shall I read the false ones again?
Okay.
just
So
a
we
quick
had-
summary.
These are free ideas for anyone out there that's looking to make a film.
The ninja one, we've got to copyright that. You
Robin
can't
Hood.
have it.
So we had Robin Hood versus the Samurai
Yeah,
Hordes,
somebody else can make that.
Lesbian Ninjas Battle Royale,
Lesbian Ninjas Battle Royale.
and
There you
Me and My Invisible Genie.
go. There you
It's a trilogy there, right there.
go. Well, with that, I think we should bid goodbye to our listeners.
Thank you very much for listening.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please like and subscribe to this channel and comment below any suggestions of topics or activities you'd like to listen to in future episodes. That's a big physical media pro. Goodbye from Zach.
That's I'm full of popcorn and I can't eat another piece. Goodbye from Buzz.
That's streaming is the future. Goodbye from Jack.
Refreshments are available in the foyer.
Unless you're streaming.
Yeah, let's just do. See what you miss out on.
You've got to go to the fridge.
Yeah, you go
Yeah,
down the fridge.
you can't get out of the trips somewhere.
I want a lady with a tray full of ice creams to come in the lounge if I've got a stream.
It will be. She'll just be virtual.
Virtual ice cream.
Yeah, that I've got to buy and then
They'll
go
sh-
out to my own fridge.
they'll
The
sh-
fridge suddenly.
Yeah. It's like the thing from Star Trek.
Anyway, we'll see you in the next episode.
Yeah, bye.
Goodbye.
You can find the Now We Know Show podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. Check out the Zak Wylde Productions social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or visit the Zak Wylde Productions website at www.zakwyldeproductions.com. Please get in contact. We'd love to find out how you're listening to us. So get in touch in the comments and don't forget to check out Zak Wylde Productions on Patreon to become an official ZWP patron today.